All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone. Salutations to all the Akim out there pushing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now, so more than ever. To the Aqua that may be listening and learning, to you, I say, Shalom. To the scattered hopeful elect, the speckled bird, those who look like the heathen, they're amongst the heathen, but are not the heathen. They are indeed Israel. They have the spirit of an Israelite. To USA Shalom as well. This is your brother Timothy Seth coming to you with another lesson. So today's lesson is going to be called "There is no new thing under the sun." So what's been really hot lately is this issue with Kyrie, namely, but also Ye. But one thing that I've been hearing lately is I don't understand why Kyrie isn't playing. Why isn't he here? Why isn't Kyrie at work? Well, there's no new thing under the sun. And basically, what's going on now, the environment and the climate, the political climate, or you could say the spiritual climate, more accurately, more precisely, is spiritual climate. We're in a time of transition and change. So, we've all been here before. The same people are doing the same things today as they were doing before. And to prove that, I'm actually going to read some stuff from the Maccabees, and then I'm also going to read some stuff from the history of the Inquisition, which kicked off modern day to where we are now. Okay, because that was the Inquisition kicked off before fight 1492, but that's 1492. That was during the year of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. And so we'll get into that. So so I'm going to start. So I just want to say, I'm going to tell you the reason why Kyrie Irving is not playing is because he is even just an inkling. See, the thing is, he didn't want to get the elixir, Evil E's magical elixir. He didn't want to get that. All right. Then, I knew he knew about the Israelite thing, and he was kind of into the Israelite thing because when it was at the beginning of that whole no jab thing, I saw he had a beard. He had the beard, and then he didn't even have his hair lined up. Okay. So when you see Judah and they don't have a lineup and they got a beard, that's kind of low. That's one of them things that that they're and he was saying he wasn't getting anyway. Esau knows that too, and a lot of other Israelites know that too, because that's kind of we don't put razors on our face or get lineups and stuff like that, and it's been like that for a long time. And there's other things that we do You know what I'm saying? That we've been, you know, when we wake up or when we're really observing the law, statutes, commandments, and the high holy days and things like that, you know, like we're supposed to, you know, those are because it's in the Bible, you know, it's in the law. Um, so I'm going to start at First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 11, and I'm going to read to verse 15. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they, excuse me, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Okay, so that's kind of like, you know, like some of the wicked leaders we have in Israel right now, basically, you know, people who were put, they're just like it says, wicked men, you know. So they felt like the heathen had better technology, or there were things that the heathen had. They felt like, oh, they, you know, the Edomites got this and we don't have that. And if we don't join on with the Edomites, because that's who these, you know, Antiochus, he was an Edomite. And that's who was king during this time when this happened, you know. So, like I was saying earlier, Kyrie Irving saying that his son's name is like, I'm going to spend time with my son Elohim, or I think something like that, you know, but so that's the fact that he named his child something like that, that lets you know, because that's what Hebrews do. And we recycle names from family members, and my family has done that, with all of the kids. Going anyway. So that's gonna make someone like Kyrie Irving get a lot of hate. The fact that he does that, because they don't like that. So I'm gonna get into that more. So now I'm gonna go to First Maccabees chapter 20, verse 28 or through 28, and it says, and after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and gold, and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore, there was great mourning in Israel in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned the virgins, and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. You know, that right there. So basically, the reason why I wanted to read that is like I read First Maccabees 1 chapter 1, verse 11 through 15 first, because I wanted you to understand like what caused the effect of Jerusalem being ravaged, ransacked like that. And it's because we certain wicked men in our nation made a covenant with the heathen. People were following after the heathen and doing profane things and stuff like that. And I bring that up because it's like, you know, people like Charles Barkley, for instance, who was acting like Steven from Django. Just like he had that mentality, like, who's that nigga on that nag? You know what I'm saying? What's that nigga doing on that nag? That's what he was acting like. I think he should, oh, you take my $40 million and you talk about me like he should be suspended. He should be suspended. You know, oh, he's stupid. And they said it was not true. So that was a very, very foolish thing that they said, that it was a lie. They did not, that's not very wise to, because in a way they denied Yahweh why Yahweh shy. One moment. Get these dogs. Oops. All right. So, yeah. So it's not wise to denounce or to, that wasn't wise. So, so it says, and after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute. This is First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 29. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. Ouch. So I want to look something up. So yeah. It's Psalm 55, verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So, yeah, basically, you know, thinking that, you can make peace with these devils, smile in their face, wanting to join on with them, coming against Kyrie like that, saying that he's stupid, denying the most high, denying your heritage and stuff. That's not wise, because then you go to First Maccabees, uh, chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people and that everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of excuse me, with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So this is a really serious thing that we're a part of, and that's basically how they feel about it. They still feel this way about it. And it's always going to be like that. It's always going to be like that. Look, if you are a Negro, all right, they don't want you celebrating the Sabbath day. They don't want you saying that you're a Jew, an Israelite, none of that. That's not okay. If you keep on doing that, there's going to be problems. They're eventually they're going to try to put you to death. And that's for real. And we've been asleep all this time, and now that we're waking up, they're going to do it again. Because I'm telling you, this is what they did during the time of the Maccabees when Antiochus was there, and then they did it again during the Spanish Inquisition with Ferdinand and Isabella. If the reaction was different this time, it would be an anomaly. But I know a lot of people do not think that Evil E would ever, ever, ever do something like that again. I'm going to read on verse 51 because this is interesting. All right. It says, in the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. So I thought that part was interesting because it reminded me of the crypto Jews, the new Christians, who might have been like did it a little bit and then they repent, and they're trying, which is not right what they should have did, but it's just, it happens every time. The lesson is there is no new thing under the sun, right? Okay, so That's that. So this book, I have a book about Caesar Borgia. All right. So I want to say, like, the police, the judges, you know, those people who work in that system and stuff, they're inquisitors, you know, they're modern day inquisitors, you know. And if you go back far enough, they'll be like, anyway, in the Spanish Inquisitions, they would get mad at an Israelite, you know, and the Israelite would run away, they'd flee, and they wouldn't be able to get them and stuff. And then they'd be like, oh, we're going to burn his effigy. So that's not in the Bible. They're not God's people. In fact, you know what? Hold on. Okay. So I also want to say, First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Okay. Again, death. They will. You know, that is why Kyrie is not playing basketball, is because he won't go on TV and say, I am not a Jew. I'm not an Israelite. I'm going to rename my son Skylar. And no, you know what? Fuck that. They want him to get on TV and say, I'm not a Jew. I'm not an Israelite. My son is transitioning. His name is going to be Elise or Evelyn. No, or just Ashley. That's what they want him to do. And be like, yeah, I'm accepting of the LGBTQ. And they want him to eat pork. But he doesn't want to do that. So he can't play basketball. That's what I think, anyway. All right. So in history, if you ever read about a group of people called the Judaics, that's referring to us. Judaic heretics, New Christians, Morenos, Morescos. So let's see here. This is in let's go back. Okay. The Inquisitors The inquisitors soon published a second edict named the Edict of Grace to engage those who had apostatized to surrender themselves voluntarily. It promised, because basically they were putting the heat on, telling people that they had to convert to Christianity and that they could not practice the law of Moses. And they did this with that whole thing that we're not under the law anymore. That's something Esau was able to push in the earth through violence, and stealing and taking people's money and shit. It's something that came about carnally. Same thing with monogamous marriage, which is a big problem, because he did the same thing there, just ridiculed people, took their money, took their kids, impoverished, certain members of the family and everything, just getting in people's shit. But that's a different video about how he did the polygamy. But I'm going to bring that out, Okay, so it promised that if they came with true repentance, their property should not be confiscated and they should receive absolution. But if, on the contrary, they suffered the time of grace to elapse or were denounced by others, they would be prosecuted with all the severity of the tribunal. Several suffered themselves to be persuaded, but the inquisitors only granted them absolution when they had declared upon oath the names, condition, and place of dwelling of all the apostates whom they knew or had heard spoken of. They were also obliged to keep these revelations secret, and by these means, a great number of new Christians fell into the hands of the inquisitors. So, yeah, they did the same shit again. I got to get ready for work. Okay, so anyway, when the period of grace was passed, the Judean paying more sin was excommunication. The consequence of the disease was that the Herod was only informed that he was accused, and then the Roman was when he. Okay, the consequences of this edict was that an heretic was only informed that he was accused at the moment when he was arrested. So that, and then also these inquisitors, they were like militias. It talks about that in here. They would confiscate money, they would force people to go to court. So that's why I say the judges, the police, okay, they're inquisitors. That's all they are. And what's going to happen to the inquisitors, okay, when their system falls, just as it did in Egypt and in Babylon and in Persia and in Greece and in Rome? The same thing, we know it's going to, and especially this time. So they're done. And you're not getting away. Though hand join in hand. Well, no. Yeah, anyway, the wicked shall not go unpunished. All right. Yeah. Okay. But the main thing that was going on, they were confiscating our wealth. This is still the old Inquisition, not the newer one with Ferdinand and Isabella. But basically it says the following cases are okay, a convert was considered as relapsed into heresy if he kept the Sabbath out of respect to the law which he had abandoned, This was sufficiently proved if he wore better linen and garments on that day than those which he commonly used, or had not a fire in his house from the preceding evening, if he took the suet and fat from the animals which were intended for his food, and washed the blood from it, if he examined the blade of the knife before, so it talks about all the different things that we know from the law, from the Old Testament, from Leviticus, um, some from Exodus, but definitely things like keeping the Sabbath day, wearing finer linen, probably because maybe, it's unlawful technically to wear blended fabrics and stuff, uh, according to the Bible. But maybe during this time, like if it was, people got relaxed about it, and maybe they just went to wearing, complete linen, complete cotton, complete wool like that on Shabbat. And I'm just speculating there, but though all those things that they listed, that is in the law. See, look, it also goes down here. If he gives his son a Hebrew name, chosen among those used by the Jews, you know. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Esau is a piece of shit prophet killer. 4 statues of plaster were erected on it and bore the name of the 4 prophets. The condemned persons were enclosed alive in these figures and perished by a slow and horrible death. The dread which these executions inspired in the new Christians caused a great number to immigrate to France, Portugal, and even to Africa. Oh wait, no, hold on. I'm sorry. The history that I've been reading here, if you're still here, this is not the old Inquisition. This is the modern. Because it says this is chapter 5, establishment of the modern Inquisition. So these things did take place during the reign of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. And I want to also read here that it says here in 1391, 5,000 Jews were sacrificed to the fury of the people in different towns. Several were known to have escaped death by becoming Christians. Many others sought to save themselves in the following their example, and in a short time, more than 1 million persons renounced the law of Moses to embrace the Christian faith. The number of conversions increased considerably during the 10 first years of the 15th century through the zeal of St. Vincent Ferrier and several other missionaries. They were okay. It says the converted Jews were named New Christians. They were also called Marranos, or the cursed race, from an oath which the Jews were in the habit of using among themselves. Kind of like how we call each other niggas. which both of them mean dark skin or black, or like we call each other niggas, or, you know, Moranos, and like, you know, like Spanish people, their name will be Morano. But you know what? It says here that a lot of those people were sent to the New World and slavery. So they were part of the transatlantic slave trade, because that's what was going on during this time. Because it said, it goes down here. So this is the famous conferences which took place in 1413. Between several rabbis and the converted Jew, Jerome de Santa Fe. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I have to get going to work, but I just wanted to put that out. You know, got to get my sit downs in. All right, and with that, I'm gonna say, call Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakakadash, Abab Abal, Shalom. Till next time.